City of Stevens Point Common Council meeting, recorded June 17, 2024.
I have 7 o'clock. We'll call a regular meeting of the Stevens Point City Council to order. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Christensen.
Here.
Guthrie.
Here.
Keemer.
Here.
Broderick.
Here.
Burr.
Here.
Steinmetz.
Here.
Kneebone.
Here.
Shuda.
Here.
Lang.
Here.
Boozy.
Here.
Morrow.
Here.
And everyone is present. Please join me for our salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Speaking of the flag, I hope everyone had a chance to enjoy some of the Flag Day services and ceremonies that were going on June 14th. I know the Elks Lodge always does a dinner and a flag ceremony, so we appreciate that. Also, regarding the flag, of course, Riverfront Rendezvous is coming up. The 4th of July parade will be held on the 4th of July at 10 a.m. The city assists, but it's really handled by a volunteer. His name is Joe Alexander and his team. There's a Facebook event created. If anybody's interested in signing up for that, contact Joe Alexander. And if you need his information, feel free to contact my office and I'll put you in touch with him. The public piano is in place downtown Stevens Point near the bus transit hub. This year, the piano was painted by Peyton Vollendorf. She did a spectacular job, lots of detail. So if you get a chance, go down there and see it. She also plays. So there's a video out there of her playing with her creation. So we appreciate that. We already have next year's piano in the back of the room, so we're set there. Those pianos are all donated. Our staff picks them up and drops them off for getting painted. The volunteers, every year a different group of volunteers or volunteer paints those pianos. So there's really no cost to the city except the time it takes for our crew to go over there, pick it up, and move it around. And so that's one of the things that I think people appreciate downtown, especially during the summer with all the live music options. Near that area, you'll find the former Shopko building. Demolition has begun. They started on the interior of that, so they're going to be taking out anything that's salvageable, recyclable, repurposable, and then whatever's left is going to get demolished and crushed up for road base or whatever they need to put in a landfill. They will do that. On a sad note, the fountain is out. It broke. We have the parts on order, but the parts won't be until at least next week. So for at least the next week, we will not be able to enjoy the fountain on the downtown public square. But rest assured, we're going to get that fixed as soon as possible. That's particularly important because according to weathermen on several channels, we're going to be experiencing some very unseasonal heat and humidity the next couple of days. We're not even into summer yet. And they're expecting some significant heat indexes. Well, today was a good example, but over the next couple of days. Right now, there's no need to open any emergency shelters or cooling shelters, but I did talk to the fire chief and working with the emergency manager. If we need to do that, we are prepared. There's plenty of places people can go to get out of the heat. You can go to the library, you can go shopping. The Lincoln Center, ADRC, has air conditioning available. I'm sure there's a bunch of other options that I'm forgetting, but at this time of the year especially, check on your neighbors. I just found out that someone's air conditioning went out. So uncomfortable is one thing, but when it's life-threatening, that's much more important. So check on your neighbors, just knock on the door, say, hey, just checking to make sure everything's okay, drink lots of water, those sorts of things. Summer brings with it, of course, lawn mowing for those who choose to do that. I want to remind everybody that it's not only dangerous to blow your grass and leaves and dirt into the street, it's also illegal. You could get a citation for that. So aim your lawn mowers towards your house. Try and keep it off the sidewalks as well. It's particularly dangerous for bicyclists, motorcycles, and those sorts of vehicles. But we want to remind everybody that it's not only dangerous, but also illegal. With Riverfront Rendezvous coming up, the Fireworks will be on Saturday, and this is the 40th anniversary of Riverfront Rendezvous. So we invested a little bit more money. You might notice we've got some bigger name bands. And this year we're also bringing back the carnival rides, not a full-blown carnival, but we will have carnival rides available along with a few other things. So I want to thank Director Kramer and his whole team that are putting that on, because that is a very busy 3 days for every single person in the Parks Department and most of the rest of the city staff. So if you see them, I think the shirts this year are lime green. Is that right, Dan? Lime green. So if you see someone who's volunteering or working, please thank them over Riverfront Rendezvous. I want to point out that we have nonprofit groups that have traditionally served as our servers in the beverage tent. We still are looking to fill a shift, so if you are part of a nonprofit group that can commit a number of people to a specific shift, contact Director Kramer. We're still looking at that, and it could be, $1,000, $1,500. I think you mentioned $1,700 for your nonprofit, so if you're looking to do that. And in a very self-serving method, Playhouse Theater Group, starting Wednesday, is doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Mostly younger people, but they have one really large old guy in there playing Jacob. I would encourage you to get some tickets, come out and see it. The cast is amazing. Those talented kids are absolutely fabulous. So tickets are available if you go to playhousetheatergroup.com, I think it is. And with that, my remarks are exhausted, and I will go to item number 3. Persons who wish to address the mayor and council on a specific agenda item other than a public hearing should register their request at this time. Those who wish to address the council during a public hearing are not required to identify themselves until the public hearing is declared open by the mayor. We do not have any public hearings tonight, so is there anybody who wishes to speak on an agenda item that has not signed up on one of these sheets? Thank you, Bethany. Okay, and great. Then we will move on to item number 4. Persons who wish to address the mayor and council for up to 3 minutes regarding a non-agenda item. First one up is Ryan and Hunter. Oh, you guys. We're going to talk about basketball.
I'm going to have to lower it. We're here to talk about the age for driving. We would like to lower it to 15,
Okay.
and that's about it for our speech.
Can you give me an idea of why, maybe?
Because when we were in a different country where they don't really care if you drive or not, we drove a dune buggy that was practically the same as driving a car in the road, and it was pretty simple.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to lower it.
I trust you more than some other drivers that are over 16.
I think we should do 15, so we can do, but they have to have a parent with them, driving with them. It's like, they have to have a license with the parent driving in the passenger with them.
Well, great. Thank you both very much. Can I ask how old you are?
11.
We're both 11.
So together you're 22. That's old enough. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming and speaking to us. I appreciate it.
Don't forget your phone.
I'm going to ask that you contact my office because the city doesn't have control over the driving age, but I will absolutely point you in the direction of the people that do. Thanks.
No, you get a large perm.
Bob Gifford. Item number 4 for starts, and I'm going to put you back in queue for number 14.
Right, okay, this is a non-agenda item, but I want to speak again about housing in our communities and our state. Wisconsin people have been living through an affordable housing crisis that extends back for the past 2 decades. You can look this up on Yahoo or Google Scholar if you want to get scholarly. In cities small and large, we have elderly folks on fixed income, people with disabilities, single moms maybe escaping from abusive households, young workers and students in 4-year or technical college or universities like ours, who have borne the burden of economic stress brought on by housing costs. along with townspeople in our town, campus towns as well. From our recent Portage County Housing Summit, in which Mayor Mike did the opening for, the facts, data, and evidence compiled support these claims. Human service agencies such as CAP Services, the United Way, in whatever county you look at, have been reporting out for many years data concerning the stressful impact of rents or mortgages on low-income households. Many of our northern rural counties have 45% or higher economic stressed folks. United Way calls these folks ALICE, asset limited income constrained employed persons. For these reasons, I'm going to present a resolution to Wisconsin Counties Association as a member of the county board, and I think the League of Municipalities to which this city belongs should do the same to your organization. So it calls on the state legislature for all enabling legislation and a very large packet of appropriations. I mean, we are talking a couple $2 billion for a statewide build-out of low-income housing funded by the state that's built, owned, and managed by collaborative organizations of municipalities and counties. So to tee off on the later discussion tonight about a climate, I would include in the language that this multifamily housing should be what is called in Europe eco-social housing that aims for a zero carbon emission system of housing. And it can be done, but it's going to take a whole paradigm shift, let's call it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gifford. That does exhaust everyone who wishes to speak on the non-agenda item. Did I miss anybody? Good. Item number 5 is our consent agenda. I am going to ask or recommend that we pull item F2, which is the license list. And I have several speakers that signed up for 5G. I think you mean 5G6, the authorization for the DOT predictive analysis crash reduction grant?
G5.
Or West River Drive, G5, because they're related. Okay, so if we pull 5G5, does that meet the 4 people that have signed up to speak? Is that the item?
Yes, sir.
So if we get a motion to approve the consent agenda, pulling F2, the license list, and G5, the allocation for a traffic study on West River Drive.
I would move approval of the consent agenda with those 2 exceptions noted.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Shuda. Discussion? Comments from the audience? Hearing and seeing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And that's approved. Item FG, which is the minutes and actions to the Public Policy General Government meeting of June 10th. The license list number 2, it's my understanding that there was some discussion with the owners and representatives of ICON, and we have come to an agreement to try.
Yeah, I would move approval of all those licenses that are listed with a couple of conditions for ICON, and these have been presented to the license to their representatives, and they're comfortable with all of them. Those additional conditions would be ID checkers and bouncers at the door during all hours of operation, a properly working security video system, wristbands with a unique identifier, not just a solid color, some level of enhanced compliance staffing on the bigger weekends, for example, when students first come back into town, homecoming, Halloween, and those type of events. And then finally, make sure that security will be confirming that the ID picture matches the person presenting it. Because sometimes when it goes through the scanner, it's too easy to just go through and not necessarily confirm. So those would be the conditions, and the owner has indicated that they've been wherever those conditions and are comfortable with all those. So with those conditions, I would move approval for Icon as well.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Shuda. Discussion there. Yes.
I'd like to hear staff's explanation of these conditions and whether they are enforceable or what this looks like from here if this were approved.
So just to clarify, I did communicate with the owner's attorney via email last week. She confirmed that she received the email with a list of these conditions and said that she'd talked to her client about it. My impression, based on a conversation I had with her last week after the committee meeting, was that her client was open to some conditions. She didn't give me any reason to believe that any of these conditions would be objectionable or non-starters. I did follow up with her today, and I haven't heard back. Are they here?
Yes.
So
I scanned
actually,
through. Okay, you are here.
Logan,
Okay.
the council president discussed those conditions with him prior to the meeting,
Okay.
and he's at least acknowledged to me that he's in agreement
Sure.
with them as well.
Okay. With regards to enforceability, so that's an interesting question in terms of, what is the proper mechanism for enforcement on something like that? And my suspicion is that if a license holder were to agree to some voluntary conditions and then has problems with following through on those, that would be quite compelling material to bring forward in terms of any sort of action regarding the license. Now, would violating one of those conditions be something that you could issue a citation for? I'm not 100% sure on that. Like, hey, you violated a condition of your license and therefore you get a ticket under Chapter 125. But also, I'm not so certain that just issuing a citation is the type of remedy that this body would be looking for. But certainly, agreeing to some conditions, not following them, that's going to, I would expect, move the needle for any sort of fact finder decently well.
Any other questions? Alderperson?
Not from me, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from any alderperson? Yes, sir.
Does that still have to come through the process of a complaint? I think there was a complaint or a couple different prongs of, one was complaint, I don't remember what the other one was, as far as revoking a license at that point.
Yes, it would still need to go through that type of process, and you in a nutshell stated it pretty well. It's a complaint-based process, so this wouldn't change how that works. It just sort of adds an additional parameter to it.
Alder Morrow?
Was law enforcement also advised of this, or did they have any input?
Yes, in fact, 3 of those, I believe it was 4 conditions, did come direct from the PD.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
How will we be made aware if there is non-compliance? Would it come from
Through the
PD?
same process.
Okay.
So we'd give you an update if there was non-compliance, and then if there was a complaint and we were looking at considering some other action, that would very likely come through this body. We're not going to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning to let you know that we found a minor.
It'll go to voicemail.
We could if you'd like, but probably not. Okay, anything else? Any comments from the audience? Hearing none, if you're in favor, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no, and the clerk will call that roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keimer.
Aye.
Guthrie. Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item G5, which is the approval of a capital reallocation to fund a traffic study on West River Drive. We do have 4 people that have signed up to speak. Gil Kavadik, you first.
Yes, sir, sure. Set up a quick visual here. There's a remote chance I would ask for a little levity and get maybe 2 minutes instead of my wife talking if I go along, but here's something I took. There we go. If the camera can zoom in on this, everyone in the room.
If you turn it towards the camera, they'd be able to see it better.
Common sense, Mike, that's what I like. Hey, so, hi, Gil Cavada, 216 West Pleasant Street. Thank you very much for letting me come and talk. I don't want to get up and say the same thing every time. There's people speeding in our neighborhoods. I took the liberty of yesterday going down West River Drive. I took some pictures. It's just nothing's really changed yet. We all live there and we see it. And I don't know if any of you have had time to go down that road or look at it or come sit in my yard. You're all welcome to. I couldn't afford to make 50. I couldn't think how many counts. Please take one, pass them down. You can look at them today, tomorrow. I think we're going to try to get an agenda item in a meeting or two to discuss some options we've come up with that we've met as a neighborhood. We know that you're all
Need to make sure the clerk has one.
kind of overworked and underpaid. We get that. We appreciate what you're doing, but we've met as neighbors, not just 2 or 3, but 8, 10. We've got together and we had an agenda this weekend. What can we do? What would we like to see change quickly? There was 8 things. We kind of came up with a thing that folded the piece of paper and covered all the things. When I first heard about it, I thought, that's crazy. I'm not going to sign off on cul-de-sacing West River Drive. I take that 10 times a day. We all go to Menards, whatever. Once it was explained to me, like lights went off, and I thought, it's a really feasible idea. It's something we need to consider. So that's why we're here today. We call it kind of a living end instead of a dead end. If that was there, Herb Weevil would still be with us. But neighborhood proposal to study possibilities of closing West River Drive along the narrow stretch of river to through traffic. Once you see those pictures, you'd say, good Lord, I wouldn't let my kids ride a bike there. The pros, it's much cheaper and easier to study than other mentioned alternatives, such as boardwalks, road widening, which equal years of study, planning, billions of dollars. So this could be close it off and see what happens. It's not going to hurt anybody. We were thinking a gate for emergency vehicles. I drove today from the tracks to HH. It was 2 minutes and 30 seconds going the speed limit. To go down Maple Ridge and come out to HH that way was 4 minutes and 56 seconds. It was 2 minutes and 16 seconds longer. I don't want to see someone bleed out in an ambulance stuck by a train. We need that. We need an escape. It would stop unnecessary traffic from traveling through residential streets, which equals immediate benefits to pedestrians. It's simpler for Stevens Point to govern traffic coming in the more major arteries, and it promotes Stevens Point green circle pedestrian nature vibe by allowing foot traffic to enjoy the river. So if everyone can see this, basically, this is the section of road we're talking about. That's where it's dangerous, it's short, it's narrow, it's already overgrown. Last year I called 3 or 4 times, said, hey, hate to be a thorn, can somebody trim the brush? Like, I gotta swerve out from the line. So if you think about it, here's the railroad coming past my house and going that way. So if we closed it right here and we would leave Turtle Pond open so we wouldn't get balking from, shore fishermen that would have a turnaround here and not have to use a driveway, we put a road closed sign there, whether it's a gate for emergency vehicles, which then the city would have to maintain it, they'd have to plow the thing in the winter or whatever, but I don't think the city can afford to fix that road. It's fallen into the river. If you go walk on it, there's 6-inch cracks that it's eroding. So if we closed it, do you know how many people, when I'm in my shop driveway right here, they're looking at their phones, they're on the Green Circle Trail, and they just say, hey, instead of, let me orient myself, instead of taking the Green Circle Trail here, which comes right out to there, they're like, screw that, the mosquitoes are going to eat us out of our brains, let's just cut down West River Drive. So we have a ton of bike and people traffic, and I haven't seen a lot change yet. We got some raunchy speeders and some hot doggers that I'm really worried this might happen again. All of us are, because we see it daily. So as you can see in those pictures, it's becoming like when I was a kid, Old Wausau Road. It's half mile from downtown. Let's go do some burnouts, Tony, and come back into town. So every other day there's a new set of black marks. And we hear them go by our house, loud truck. We hear, floating the valves and donuts, and then they come back rolling through. And I don't want to be a vigilante and say, look what these people are doing, but some of those pictures are right here, and they almost all come in and out of here, and then there's here. So it's just basically like a barren, dead-end road. What purpose does this serve? You got your major arteries coming into town there. There could be a sign here, all Plover businesses, this way. People that come in on here, 10 isn't an issue. They're not across the track. So these people that come here are the ones that boogie around and try to go through our neighborhoods. That's no longer going to be a factor. This will all be residential only. And I think it's going to ruffle feathers at first and seem radical, but it's going to change everything for the better. I'd like you guys to take some time and think of the negatives. Come back next week and say, it's going to make way too much traffic down Clark Street. It's going to piss off people, whatever. We all seem to think it was a really cool idea.
Upset people.
I made it.
Upset. We got to watch the words. There's young people here, too.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. That's okay. I'm guilty as well.
I'm having some seasonal
Gil, that
allergies.
is amazingly thought out.
I'm highly on medicated stuff right now, and I just appreciate it if you could all pass those around and look at those pictures.
Yep, there is a copy in the clerk's office. For those of you who may want to request a copy, we can make those available tomorrow. Gil, thank you very much. Scott Badoon, I know you're probably in the overflow room with the rest of the directors, but take some time and talk to Gil about this idea. I think it's very, again, very well thought out, and let's see if it's doable. Jess Sherman.
Jess Sherman, 2048 West End Drive. I'm here to support my neighbors. We've become very close over this issue of safety on West River Drive. And I mean, we appreciate the fact that, you know, we're willing to reallocate money towards doing this study. But when it comes to what our expectations were when we first came to City Council, it was that something would be done short term, at least something temporary to help alleviate the problem. And as Gil said, like, we really feel like nothing has changed. Winter has turned to spring, and now it's almost summer, and it's the same thing every day, where you just have to be super careful out on the roads. And as we've talked to people on City Council, people in the community, I mean, speeding is an issue all over town. It's not just an issue in our neighborhood. I mean, we also have issues of, you know, crumbling infrastructure and roads that are under-designed for the amount of traffic that they're getting. But speeding seems to be a problem everywhere. At the May 13th, I believe it was, which committee was that? The Public Works Committee meeting. I've been thinking about this since then. Mayor Wiesa said, you know those towns that nobody speeds through because you know you're going to get pulled over? I wish we were one of those towns. Might not be his exact words, but it was something along those lines. And my question is, why are we not one of those towns? Why are we not pulling people over and ticketing them for speeding? They gave 60 tickets on West River Drive between 2020 and 2023. There's 1,200 cars that come down that road every day. That's 0.006% of the vehicles that have come down that road. And if 90% of the people coming down that road are going over 30, I mean, that's a lot of people that could be pulled over. And it's happening all over town. I know that the police are short-staffed, but they have crews out every day in different neighborhoods. They can be targeting people speeding in different neighborhoods. We could be sending a message out that speeding is not tolerated in this town, because it is a safety concern for everyone. We want to be a bicycle-friendly city, we want to be a tree city, a bird city, we want to be all of these things. But right now, people, if we don't feel safe on our public roads, and I year-round recreate on our public roads, and I've seen a lot of things. If people don't feel safe out there on our roads, like, what kind of a community do we have? And I really think that this is something that could be done short-term instead of looking at a lot of these long-term project goals, to just give a lot of people some peace of mind. Just target some of these people who are just speeding all the time. I mean, the difference between going 5 miles at 25 miles per hour and 35 miles per hour is less than 50 seconds. What is that 50 seconds worth? Is it worth somebody's life? Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie Shimke?
Hi, Jackie Shimke, 440 West Trillium Court. First, I wanted to thank the Finance Committee because they chose to allocate money to do the study on West River Drive, so we greatly appreciate that. And I'm just hoping that you will consider our proposal that we've made tonight and that Gil put together. I know it's possibly not going to be the outcome, but it's something we feel strongly about. But we'd also like you to consider what can we do short term as you're trying to decide what you want to do in the long term, because we need to have something done now. And with this plan, one of the things we did think of was possibly putting like flexi poles down on each end where we'd like to have the road end on HH and then right after the house on West River Drive. That would allow emergency vehicles to come through if they need to, but it would prevent others, just the general public, from using that road. So that was all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Teresa Collins.
Hello, I'm Teresa Collins. I live at 417 West Maple Ridge Drive, and I agree with everything my neighbors just said. The residents on and around West River Drive came together to come up with a proposal for a solution to the increased traffic, speeding, and reckless driving in our neighborhood. Our proposal is a cul-de-sac, or what we are calling a living end. A living end versus a dead end is a living space or a safe place for pedestrians and bicyclists. We are in favor of cul-de-sacing West River Drive at Turtle Pond. Our number one goal is safety. The benefits of cul-de-sacing are: 1, safer for pedestrians and bicyclists; 2, near immediate implementation; 3, near zero cost, or likely negative costs, as there would be reduced or eliminated river bank maintenance. And I understand that there's a study being considered, so why not make cul-de-sacing West River Drive the study? Pilot the cul-de-sac, review the results, and then decide to keep or remove it. On the corner of West River Drive and HH is a park, but I don't see a park. There is no park, only a sign that says West River Park. This new closure to through traffic would be a beautiful and safe enhancement to underutilize West River Park for fishing, birding, biking, walking, etc. We understand that there are areas around Stevens Point with speeding and traffic concerns as well. But our neighborhood just lost a beloved neighbor to a hit-and-run driver, and we feel action needs to be taken immediately to prevent another loss of life. There is a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a community to save a life. Cul-de-sacing West River Drive will save lives. We hope you will give this proposal thoughtful consideration. We appreciate the opportunity to express our concern and a solution.
Thank you very much. That exhausts the speaker list. The minutes and actions of the Finance Committee for that item were recommending approval of the capital reallocation to fund a traffic study for West River Drive. What that traffic study entails is not determined, so if you would like to ask staff to focus on some options, I think this is actually something that was really well put together. You can do that, but staff is already listening, and they will do that. So we'd be looking for you to uphold or deny the Finance Committee's recommendation to reallocate those funds for a traffic study at West River Drive. We're not talking about closing streets or anything yet. This is the reallocation of funds to conduct that study. That's all we're considering tonight.
I'd move approval of.
I'm sorry, was that Lang?
I second.
Motion by Lang, seconded by Morrow to approve the reallocations of funds for the traffic study at West River Drive. Is there discussion there? Yes.
I'll say that I really appreciate the neighbors continuing to come out and give us their feedback. I heard either support of the traffic study or neutrality about it. I didn't hear anyone say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they didn't want to see it happen. I appreciate that the process means having engineers look at things and it takes time, and you are, in addition to welcoming that, looking for more immediate action. I appreciate that our staff are listening to that, and I'll be grateful for them sort of threading that needle with implementing immediate potential solutions, and then also doing a longer-term study to see what longer-term solutions will exist. So I'll be voting approval. I hope that you'll continue to come out. I hope that you will work directly with staff so that these funds that are being spent to try to find solutions are things that you will be pleased to see implemented in your community. I yield.
Any other comments? Hearing and seeing none. Oh, go ahead.
Seems to me that we should have a sense of urgency about this study and not, make sure that this stays at the top of the list. That's it.
Thank you. Last call. Hearing and seeing none. If you are in favor, vote yes. Opposed, no, and the clerk will call that roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Kiemer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And that's approved. Item number 6 is a resolution, a request from the City of Stevens Point for a final subdivision plat review of a planned subdivision on the property located at 5498 Gullah Road with the parcel identified in your packet. We've been through this for quite a while. We have Dave Wills from the town of Hull wishing to speak. Dave?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dave Wills. I live at 1909 Mary's Drive in the town of Hull. I am the current town of Hull chairperson. You're right, Mike. This is the 6th time I think we've addressed this, 3 times in the Plan Commission and now 3 times here. I think you know we're opposed to everything and the way it's set up, but I don't want to speak to that tonight because I know where this is going. But I do want to thank everybody for listening to all of our citizens and their concerns over these past several months. If the Plan Commission and the Common Council are interested in exploring how to move forward with more future growth for the city without so much pushback from its neighbors, please ask. We'd love to work with you. Thanks.
Great. And Dave, we can get right back to those boundary agreements. We made a lot of progress, but it stalled with the perpetual compensation. So if you're willing to move on that, I'd love to get those restarted. Before you is the request. What are your wishes? Alder Nebo.
I will move approval of the subdivision plat review.
Thank you. Seconded by Lang. Discussion. Comments from the audience? Hearing and seeing none. If you're in favor, vote yes, and opposed, no, and the clerk will call that roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
No.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 7 is a resolution, a request from the City of Stevens Point to rezone the property located at 5498 Gullah Road from RLD Low Density Residence District to R3 Single and 2 Family Residential District.
Motion to so move?
Motion to approve?
Yes.
Motion to approve by Morrow, seconded by Kneebone. Discussion. Comments from the audience? Hearing and seeing none. Clerk, please call that roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
No.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 8 is an ordinance, a request from the City of Stevens Point to annex an unaddressed parcel bounded by Old Highway 18 and Burlesky Road, and an unaddressed parcel bounded by Burlesky Road, an unaddressed parcel adjacent to Canadian National Railway, a portion of an unaddressed parcel adjacent to Old Highway 18, and Old Highway 18 right-of-way from the town of Hull to the City of Stevens Point. Those parcel numbers are identified in your packet. It's basically the property we had purchased a while back, if you remember, on, what was that, Hoover, County Road R and Old 18. So we're looking to annex. Yes?
I would move approval of the annexation.
Moved by Keemer, seconded by Christensen. Discussion. Comments from the audience? Hearing and seeing none. Clerk, please call a roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that's approved. Item number 9 is a request from the City of Stevens Point. Boy, they ask for a lot, don't they? To acquire the property located at 1000 Maria Drive with the parcel identified in your packet. This is for the eventual running of 3rd Street through.
I'd move to approve.
Motion to approve by Christensen, seconded by Steinmetz. Discussion?
I have a question on this one.
Yes.
So I had a constituent reach out to me, and they were curious about the parcel right behind this one. It's a little bit north. It would be definitely required for us to have ownership if we were ever going to run the road through. So I was wondering what the plan was for acquiring that, since
It's
is owned
included.
by the same.
It's included in this purchase.
Correct. It's part of the overall purchase from the property owner. We have to record a certified survey map before we acquire it, and so because that certified survey map combines the 2 parcels into one, and that's why it's just identified as 1000 Maria Drive. It does include the north parcel, so.
It does. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions? Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Broderick. Aye. Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And that's approved. Item number 10 is a resolution, a request from the City of Stevens Point to approve a certified survey map to accept the dedication for land right-of-way for the purposes of a planned extension of Badger Avenue from EM Cops Drive to County Road Double H. Motion by Keemer.
Second.
Seconded by Lang. Discussion. Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none. One more time with the roll call, please.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick. Keemer.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 11 is a resolution reauthorization of workman's compensation self-insurance for a 3-year period, 2024 through 2027.
Move to approve.
I'm sorry.
Move to
Burr?
approve.
Burr.
Second.
And seconded by Morrow. If I'm not looking, I sometimes I don't know whose voice is what. Discussion there. Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And that item is approved. Item number 12 is a disallowance of a claim. Latitude Subrogation Service and Hastings Mutual Insurance Company, a claim related to a sewage backup at 2313 Jersey Street, owned by Sharon Inman. Our insurance company is recommending we disallow that claim.
Move to disallow the claim.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Steinmetz, moved by Broderick to disallow the claim. Discussion there.
Is the complainant here?
Is the insured here or the claimant? I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that claim is denied. Item number 13 is a resolution condemning acts of hostility. That resolution was included in your packet. And we have some speakers. Sarah, you're up first.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Sarah Van Asser-Decker. Almost 6 years ago, I moved to Stevens Point, taking a chance on a new state, town, and university. When I was preparing for my move here, one of the things I immediately did was look up demographic information, because I am Palestinian. If you have never looked up a town on Wikipedia for demographic information before you move there to see if you will be safe, consider yourself privileged and lucky. While I can move through this world undetected because I do not fit your stereotypes of what an Arab looks like, my experiences in this world are very different, and I find myself fighting unseen battles every day. Here's a thought experiment I'd like to share with you. While morbid, I want all of you to imagine the graves of important people to you in your identity. These might be grandparents or great-grandparents or those who filled those roles in your lives. And I want you to think about what it would take to go visit their grave sites to pay respects. I suspect there could be some barriers, like a plane ticket or finding the time to do so, but all of you would be allowed to walk into that cemetery if you got there. There would be no governmental entity standing in your way. My experience is not the same. I know exactly where my grandparents are buried, in the West Bank, but I am unable to go see them. With most of my family still living there, I assure you the effects of the occupation of my people have engulfed my entire life. It is because of my 40 years of living this. I'm standing before you today as a citizen and active community member to ask that you choose language for this ceasefire resolution that is specific, actionable, and meaningful. My work with diversity, equity, inclusivity has revealed to me often that we cling on to feel-good words, but I know it is important to step beyond that, to be brave and firm in our resolution to protect human life and lived experiences, to call out our government with revolutionary ideas that our publicly owned money, aka taxes, should be invested here and not to bomb entire city blocks, that the freedoms that we want to enjoy are not tainted with the blood of others. Further, there can be no negotiation and healing in violence. Our town should speak boldly to say enough. We no longer want blood on our hands. The suffering of people around the world is deeply connected to us. I urge everyone in this room, our voices, our elected officials, to take a stand against the atrocities we are witnessing. that we embrace that no one is free until we are all free, that we demand investments be made in our communities and not with war and weapons manufacturers. Let Stevens Point demand that our representative government represents our voices rather than their own interests, and that we join the majority of American citizens who call for an end to the violence, an end to the bombing, and that Palestine should not be the home to the world's largest population of child amputees because of our money. It's time we recognize that the greatest existential threat to America right now is America ourselves.
Thank you. Steve?
That's hard to follow. My name is Steve Manastro Decker. I'm a business owner, a veteran, and my wife is Palestinian. I've watched a lot of things that are uncomfortable for white people be ignored, forgotten, and washed over with platitudes for most of my life. From our existence on stolen Native American land and land proclamation statements to remembrance days and months of things that wash over huge issues in an effort to make the right people feel better. And it's frustrating to have that happen again here now. To have been involved in the writing of the original request for a ceasefire and to see the erasure of Palestinians within it made me really sad and angry. And why is it so hard to see them now when in 50 years it won't be hard to remember them? Here in Stevens Point, not even 70 years ago, we were a sundown town where black people had better be out by the time the sun sets. And now come language that diversity and inclusivity are hallmarks of Stevens Point. It's a lie, and it hasn't been. And passing a resolution with language like that proves it still isn't. From a place where just a few years ago, the grandson of the assistant police chief brought a baseball bat in the back of a Trump pickup truck to a Black Lives Matter protest, the mayor met that with, "This isn't who we are." But you can't condemn the actions and ignore the victims. You can't say that violence everywhere is bad and shake your finger while you're committing an act of violence by erasing the victims. In 10 years, will there be platitudes about Palestinian lives lost, the sadness of an occupation that went on too long, that took too much, that was either supported by you or the victims that were erased by you? By now, here, your own community members who share a connection to that tortured land, we beg you to make a statement on their behalf. Sure, it's not binding. Nothing we pass in Stevens Point will change the course of a genocide. And I'm sure Trump and Biden, Johnson, and Shanklin will take this letter and toss it in the trash and continue business as usual. But right now and here, you have citizens that are begging you to see them as people, because the world does not. As some call for their outright extermination, here they ask you to acknowledge their pain, their fear, their sadness in watching their occupied land bombed, brutalized, and destroyed. You cannot take that ask from them and turn it into an action that erases them. You can, but you shouldn't sacrifice the few for the many. You can, but you shouldn't erase the marginalized. And you can't be a both-sider here. You can't affirm the existence of constituents in a document that erases them. You can't say we hear you and ignore us. You can't say you stand for diversity and inclusivity when it makes you feel good. You have to act that way when it's hard. Do the brave thing, the thing that will matter most for the ones here that need your support.
Thank you, Steve. I couldn't agree more. We shouldn't do a resolution that says one thing, yet we do another. Emily?
Let us celebrate the 4 Israeli hostages freed by the raid on the Nuseirat refugee camp. Let us mourn that they guised the mission as humanitarian aid and used the U.S.-constructed pier, killing more than 270 Palestinians and 3 Israeli hostages. Dozens of the casualties were children. They now number among the more than 37,000 Palestinians that have died by the more than 70,000 tons of bombs that have been dropped. I wonder what the reports of the 108 dead journalists would be contributing to global discourse. I'm sure Israel is grateful for their silence. The only solution for safety for both Jews and Palestinians is a permanent ceasefire. This modern-day siege must come to an end. I have heard of babies beheaded by Hamas, claims which were found to be false, but I've seen a father in Gaza holding up his baby, beheaded by U.S. weapons in Rafah. Images like this have been turned into memes on pro-IDF pages. Israel says there are no innocent civilians. It's wrong when Hamas says it, and it's wrong when Israel does too. I, like many, was horrified by the story of 6-year-old Hind Rajab, whose family was attacked on the way to Rafah. She lived long enough to call for help, but the Red Cross workers who responded were gunned down too. There are no safe zones in Gaza. Where is Biden's red line? It was never about Hamas or the hostages. To the Israeli state, it has always been about the land and how to remove its occupants. 9 out of 10 children in Gaza are now severely malnourished as aid continues to be blocked by the IDF and even burned. The Associated Press has identified at least 60 Palestinian families who have lost more than 25 members. This is collective punishment. This is an international war crime, and this is genocide. During the 6-day temporary ceasefire from November 24th to November 30th, 105 Israeli hostages were returned home, by far the most successful mission. If you want the remaining hostages returned alive, the results speak for themselves. Progress happens through ceasefire, not massacre. In the future, people will wonder how we let this happen, like I did when I learned about the Holocaust. People said they didn't realize what was happening, but we won't have that excuse. We won't be able to feign ignorance. We're streaming it in 4K. I could go on for hours with evidence of things like sexual torture of Palestinian hostages with hot rods, white phosphorus bombs, and indiscriminate killings. I could list medical facilities, schools, and other important buildings, like the Associated Press building on May 15th, that have been targeted. But you can find all of those if you're willing to look. In 2017, Governor Walker issued anti-BDS Executive Order Number 261, forcing us to engage with any state does not feel like freedom. I call on Governor Evers to repeal Wisconsin Executive Order Number 261, allow free discourse surrounding divestment from Israel. I call on our politicians and political candidates at all levels to exercise their pressure and power toward a permanent ceasefire resolution in Palestine. We don't need to keep feeding bodies and tax dollars that are needed here at home into the war machine. Free Palestine. Ceasefire now. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric, all the way from Eau Claire.
Good evening. My name is Eric Wilson. Thank you all for being here and dedicating the service to the community and the people that you represent. I know it's not an easy time. I wanted to take a few moments to speak in favor of the condemning acts of hostility resolution tonight. This is an important moment to be stepping up. Our communities need us at all levels to be representing them and calling atrocities atrocities. There are people hurting, and what happens abroad impacts people here. And so we have to come together and do everything that we can to use our voices collectively. Let's make sure that Stevens Point is a community that everyone feels represented and no one is left behind. Let's make sure that they have representation that's surrounding them and building an inclusive community regardless of background and where they come from. Thank you for being the leaders that the community needs you to be.
Eric, I need to ask you, what brought you here all the way from Eau Claire? What's the tie?
I am a congressional candidate, so I'm running for the 3rd district.
Thank you very much.
And so this is part of my community as well.
Good luck. And that exhausts the speaker list for item number 13. That resolution was included in your packet. What are your wishes? This was brought to us through Alderperson Sam Lang. Alderperson Lang, if you wanted to speak first, I would certainly allow that.
Sure. This comes to us today because of citizen concerns brought forward as somebody who ran on bringing forward the underrepresented voices in our community and advocating for that. This is something I'm proud of. The original resolution was something I worked on with the Deckers, and that is something that I brought forward to the mayor for his consideration, and that's what is in your agenda. I feel that there's some language that maybe needs to be hashed out here. Maybe we send this back to committee and come forward with something that's a little bit more has a little bit more input from people before, adopting it. But this one that I worked on this morning that I've brought forward is what I would be approval of tonight. If there's other thoughts, I'd love to hear them, but.
When you say this one, Alderperson, what are you referring to?
Resolution calling for a ceasefire, humanitarian justice, and condemning violence.
Everyone at the table here should have that. That was submitted at noon today.
Yes.
It doesn't jive exactly with the agenda, but barring any objections, I don't know that the city attorney will have anything to say. Most of the people in the audience and no one at home has seen this. There were some copies on the front table, so this is very new for everyone, so I just want to be clear on that.
As something that was a collaborative effort of the voices that you've just heard. That's what was finished earlier today. Their voices, their agreement, and I would be happy to sponsor this and ask for your approval on that. If this is something that y'all would like to send back to committee, I could also deal with that, and we could work on something that's more agreeable for language. But I'd be asking here now that the resolution calling for a ceasefire, humanitarian justice, and condemning violence be approved.
So you're motioning to approve the resolution that you're referring. Honestly, Alderperson, because nobody has really seen this, you are certainly welcome to read it if you're willing. If not, that's okay too. This will be in the record.
Okay. If you'd like me to read it, if you're fine to do that too, I can do that.
Does anybody want it read?
Okay.
Okay. Anybody from the audience? So again, I know that we haven't seen that. Who's in the back there? I can't say. I saw a hand.
Mary.
Mary, you want it read?
Please.
Okay.
She said yes, please.
This is resolution calling for a ceasefire, humanitarian justice, and condemning violence. Whereas all human life is precious and the targeting of civilians, no matter their faith or ethnicity, is a violation of international humanitarian laws. And whereas diversity and inclusion have long been hallmarks of Stevens Point community, and Stevens Point is the home to a host of residents, students, and employees from around the world, across this nation, and from diverse backgrounds. And whereas since October of 2023, over 35,000 Palestinians have been killed, the majority being women and children, as well as over 100,000 people have been injured. Whereas the deliberate targeting of journalists and medical workers has been unprecedented and is in violation of international humanitarian law. And whereas acts of hate, violence, and intimidation dehumanizes and spreads fear of other members of the targeted group. And whereas hundreds of thousands of lives are at imminent risk from starvation, exposure, dehydration, and disease if a ceasefire is not achieved and humanitarian aid is not delivered without delay. Whereas all members of our Wisconsin federal delegation must use the platform provided by their offices to advocate for measures that will result in the least amount of suffering, violence, and death. Whereas our federal government holds immense diplomatic power to save the lives of Palestinians and Israelis. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Stevens Point Common Council insists, one, that all members of our community be able to feel safe and not subject to hate, bigotry, intimidation, or violence in any form, as they run contrary to the principles of respect, dignity, and fairness, which are included in Stevens Point's community's core values. Two, that our city maintains vigilance in defense of the rights of all our people, proactive in our striving to be a welcoming community for all. Three, that we remain steadfast and vigorous in condemning all forms of hate, bigotry, intimidation, and violence. Four, that the city of Stevens Point urges our President Joseph R. Biden to make every effort in seeking an end to this violence and direct his administration to immediately call for and facilitate A, de-escalation of hostilities, B, an immediate ceasefire, C, unhindered humanitarian aid entry to Gaza, D, investigations into any appearance and all allegations of all crimes against humanity and peace. Be it further resolved that upon passage, a copy of this resolution be placed on the city's official letterhead and shall be sent to members of our federal delegation. those being the office of the United States President Joe Biden, the office of United States Senator Tammy Baldwin, the office of United States Senator Ron Johnson, and the office of U.S. Representative Derek Van Orten.
Thank you very much for doing that. So the motion is to amend the resolution to include the language that was just read. Is there a second to that?
Mr. Mayor, I would second that, and normally, I guess in normal circumstances, I would have encouraged you to send it back to committee, but I think time is of the essence. I don't think we have the time to delay this, and I think this needs to be passed tonight, so I would second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion.
I have a comment. Save Palestine, yes. Save it from Hamas. That's what I have really seen. If it wasn't for what happened, none of this would even happen. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what was going to even happen onto this. I was there 2 weeks prior to October 7th. I mean, when I was out on the beaches, I'd see Jews and Arabs with all their families and friends together. I saw them working together, hand in hand. I was in the West Bank as well. I'm not saying everything was perfect. It was horrible. The stuff that's been going on there has been going on for thousands of years. But what happened? I mean, from what Hamas did on that day, if that would have happened in the U.S., I think similar things would have happened. I mean, they've been trying to do a ceasefire for weeks and weeks and weeks, and Hamas has not listened to anything. They've offered terms several times, and they have turned this down. They don't care anything for the people, I don't think, because they knew exactly what was going to happen. And a lot of the we're getting propaganda from both sides. I'm not saying that what Israel's saying is all true. I'm not saying everything that what Hamas is saying is true either. But I think Hamas is, there's nothing in here that says anything about Hamas at all. And they're the ones that even began the whole thing. And as I said, I know the Israel that I saw 2 weeks prior to this is gone. But I saw families of Arabs and Jews together, eating together, playing together, and I just didn't go along the tourist tracks. I traveled all over the north, so it just wasn't in the tourist areas. And I also traveled in the West Bank, as I said, and what I saw there was horrible. I mean, there's a big fence around it. They can't leave. I saw the discrimination in the West Bank, which was horrible. I had Jewish guides, I had Arab guides, and they were very open about everything. But again, there's nothing in here that's even condemning Hamas. I mean, they're the ones that even began the whole thing. And if that would have happened here in the U.S., I have no doubt that similar actions would have been taken.
Any other comments? Comments from the audience? You already spoke, right?
Oh, yeah, I can't speak.
Well, do you have something to add that's relevant? By all means.
When you said that we should be condemning Hamas and that it all began on October 7th, it didn't all begin on October 7th. People lived there prior to Israel being created as a state, and the Nakba, the horror, the terror, has been going on since Israel was created. And this is just an ongoing, intensified version of it. But Hamas, if people wanted to get Hamas, they would go to Qatar. They know where the leaders of Hamas are. Some of them have done interviews, so they wouldn't be bombing the Palestinian civilians. They would be contacting whoever got the interviews with them with Qatar, or wherever they got them from. They don't care about Hamas. They helped put Hamas in power with funneling everything towards fundamentalism so that secular people in Palestine had nowhere else to turn. And I'm not saying that Hamas is good. I'm not saying the actions that they took were good. But I am saying that an oppressed people will take what they can.
Thank you. And I'm old enough, too, where I would submit that the hostilities in that region happened even before Israel was created. Okay, anyone else? The only thing I want to mention here is we've talked about this with Alderperson Lang for the better part of a month. What you see in your packet was something that I thought we had put together. This resolution that you're about to vote on was submitted to the clerk's office 8 hours ago. I would ask that when things like this happen in the future, a little more notice would be appropriate, even for staff to review, because the city attorney, I don't think, has even reviewed this. So it's helpful. We're here as a resource. We can help you write these things. You just got to give us direction. But 8 hours is really cutting it close. The motion, again, before you is to amend the resolution in your packet with the document that Mr. Lang had read. If you are in favor, vote yes. Opposed, no, and the clerk will call that roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Keimer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Morrow.
And that is approved. Item number 14, I'm just going through my notes here. Item number 14 is consideration of the 100% clean energy and carbon neutrality resolution and proposed amendments. That information is in your packet. We have a list of speakers. Trevor Rourke joining us live and in person. Congratulations on Petalon 4.0, right?
Yeah, thank you. Trevor Rourke, 601 Washington Avenue. I'm happy to see this coming forward as the urgency grows stronger for first world citizens to try and curb our overconsumption of energy. Yet the approved resolution from last Monday's public policy and general government meeting should have already been on the books maybe 20 years ago. Some might say it should have been on the books 50 years ago. Seeing this new watered-down alternative tonight, the timeline extension, and reading the mayor's memo was very disappointing. The way the memo reads and the way the alternative resolution reads, combined, it's greenwashing and kicking the can down the road. There's also a mix of 11th hour confusion in terms and goals, and it actually seems intentional, and that's very unfortunate. We need better leadership than this. The climate crisis is here. It's in our backyard, even if none of us are in pain for it yet, although some of us might be. And we need a lot more done than this watered-down version of resolution. Please reject this and approve the original version approved last Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. Gordon.
Hi, Gordon Cunningham on 159015 Zoromsky Road on the very edge of Portage County. So the shirt I'm wearing is from the 1990 Midwestern Energy Fair, and I'm one of the founding members of it. I was at the first meeting. That's 34 years ago. And the reason we started the Energy Fair was because we were just tired of waiting around for the government to get up off its butt and do anything. And so we decided to have an educational event to educate, promote, and demonstrate renewable energy. How does this tie into what's going on with the resolution, or with the ideas that Max has provided for Stevens Point? Well, there are, everybody's under this influence of a collapsing climate right now. And young people especially are upset with my generation as a boomer and thinking that we really didn't see this coming. We really didn't do enough to address it. And this is an opportunity for a fairly progressive town to address this in a meaningful way by simply making a resolution to, concerning being on renewable energy by a really kind of too far out timeline. To give one example of one thing, there's a guy named Mustafa Ali that was head of the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States for 20 years. And in the last 5 or 10 years of his job, he spent creating housing that had zero net energy consumption. And what's that? That's something where the housing has solar panels for electricity and solar panels for hot water and lots of insulation and lots of south-facing glass so that it provides all of its own energy. So the energy swings that are necessary for summer cooling and for winter heating do not interrupt the grid, do not interrupt the money that people need to pay their bills and to buy food. And if you think about it a second, it does not interrupt the landlord's ability to collect rent. It does not interrupt the bank's ability to collect the mortgage because the energy swings are close to zero for those units and people don't have to skip their utility bills. So there's a company in an organization in Pennsylvania called Block to Block that takes unused industrial space and converts it to residential and other business spaces and creates zero net energy use spaces out of it. And loaning institutions like this, and this has been funded repeatedly for, I'm not sure exactly, but around 5 years now. And the way it works is the same thing. And he's taking existing, really inefficient industrial buildings and making them efficient with renewable energy provisions. And the reason the banks fund this is because they know they're going to get their mortgage payments because the utility bills remain at zero. So these are things that have been going on for 20 years. The energy fair has been going on for 30, 40 years. There's no reason to put this off another minute. It just makes Stevens Point look retroactive, like a retro community instead of a progressive community that I believe it really is. So that's my little bit. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Gordon, one quick question for you.
Sure.
When's this year's Energy Fair?
Pardon?
When is this year's Energy Fair?
Next Saturday.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Maxwell.
Hello, everybody. Maxwell Johnson, 2345 Jersey Street. I wanted to come before this council and say that there's been a lot of hard work put into this, and this has been about a year of work collecting petition signatures. We have hundreds of petition signatures asking this body to commit to 100% clean energy and carbon neutrality. We have the great work that UWSP has been doing to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, and there is also our federal and state government that is investing in infrastructure with the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law. I think the time is now for all of you to vote yes on this and begin all of this great work. This resolution has broad support from the community, and many other Wisconsin communities have done similar work. Let's be a model for what other cities can do and reduce our carbon emissions in unique and innovative ways through a continued conversation. This is just the beginning of this conversation. Let's set the bar high and work with our great community that we have here in Stevens Point to have a conversation and build a brighter future for the next generation. In fact, clean energy is becoming the most affordable form of energy. Between upfront cost savings, shorter payback periods, and decades of saving that come with any of these projects, Clean Energy Future is the most financially smart one. There are benefits available now, not only from our city government, but also from individuals to save money and protect the environment at the same time. and our timing could not be better. The Energy Fair, as was just mentioned, is just around the corner. If you are curious, any one of you members, about what we can do as a municipal government, please come to the Energy Fair. If you're curious as an individual of the benefits that you can benefit from, please come to the Energy Fair and learn about this. I will be giving a presentation on the Inflation Reduction Act then as well. So we should be developing a climate action plan, and we should be having an edge on the market by committing to 100% clean energy. There has truly never been a better time to get serious about energy. We have so much time, so much to gain, and so much to save by investing in a clean energy future. We should take the full opportunity to save with the state and federal government, as well as the many individuals in Stevens Point who would jump at an opportunity to participate in this work. This, as I said before, is just the beginning of this conversation about our environmental impact as a community, how we can reduce it, and how we can build a Stevens Point that is more resilient in the face of a changing climate. I would ask you to vote yes on the resolution as passed by committee and invest in the future of Stevens Point. Thank you.
Thank you. William? Do we have a copy of that petition?
William John Collette is my name, 2209 Ellis Street. A couple of revised comments from last Monday, so there could be a little repetition. I support the use of 100% in this resolution, in part because the term resolution refers not to a prediction of what will happen or to a legally binding contract. Rather, a resolution refers to the will to do something, as in we are resolved to try to achieve a goal. So yes, we are 100% resolved to be sustainable, but maybe we only get to 90% by 2050. That can work, but without a resolution in the first place to get to 100%, we might only get 60. So there's a rhetoric behind that coupling of 100% to the resolution. So that can work, like I said. Thus, 100% resolutions are practical. Not silly pie-in-the-sky dreaming language. Note how we wouldn't generally judge negatively a person who is 100% committed to U.S. citizenship or to the will of the Lord, nor would we judge the medical doctor who fully 100% is sworn to abide by the Hippocratic Oath. I want my doctor fully on board. Also, being 100% on board, that is, being 100% resolved to achieve something, doesn't mean that our strategy to achieve the goal is not open to adaptation and to modification. That's where the non-binding comes in. Diverse interests require us to be adaptable. Another reason why I support this resolution, I'm going fast because I only have 3 minutes. Another reason why I support this resolution is that if we don't, then what do we tell our young people? And I listen to young people. I mean, the future is theirs, not ours, not mine. My vested interest in the past should not be their problem. And most all of the young people that I've talked to in my many years as a professor want a just and sustainable world. They are passionate about it. And note, if one wishes to keep one's finger on the pulse of our community, pay attention to what the young people think is cool. And I've noticed that for many young people, it's cool to want to stop global warming, pun intended. And that's the key, right? So another reason that I support this resolution is because, properly understood, sustainability is prosperity. I call that idea SIP. And speaking of prosperity, not paying attention to climate change is resolving not to be prosperous. And here's what I read today in the Forbes Daily. You know, Forbes is that well-known pro-business magazine. Here's what they said. The maximum temperatures this week across the U.S. could reach 105 degrees in some areas, with cities like Detroit and Pittsburgh expecting to see some of the hottest conditions. Beyond public safety, the article goes on, the impacts from record temperatures on healthcare, infrastructure, transportation, and more is estimated to cost the United States economy $100 billion annually. From the point of view, then, of the astronomical costs of not addressing climate change, the cost of the resolution that we're talking about, that we are discussing today of reaching 100% clean energy and carbon neutrality for our community by 2050 needs to be seen not as, again, some idealistic and practical agenda, but as a common-sense conservative plan. Today's resolution would be fiscally responsible. It would conserve money in the planet. Remember the words conservative and conservation are linked for a reason, though often politically they're not. Right? With the word conservative meaning holding great respect for and wishing to conserve what has worked in the past. And that's the planetary ecosystem, or God's creation, and the $32 trillion worth of ecosystem services that ecosystem provides to us each year free of charge, but that is not included generally in our business ledgers. But conservation and conservatism can also, right, work well for us and become the stable foundations for sustainable growth, progress, and prosperity. Today's resolution, then, should be seen as a conservative and a progressive plan for turning the Stevens Point-Wausau corridor into a prosperous center of economic growth in the 21st century, a global beacon of sustainable growth, a beacon to innovative business owners and entrepreneurs, a cool place to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gifford.
Hi, Bob Gifford, County Board, representing Mayor Kneebone's district, in fact, part. As one of your County Board reps, I want to go on record in full support of the League's resolution for Stevens Point for 100% clean energy by 2040 as written. But I also want to go beyond this resolution and urge City Council members to think bigger on these questions. And by bigger, I mean think statewide. A mega resolution, if you will, okay? See if you can make it bigger. By this, I mean Stevens Point should urge that collective of municipalities, which you call the League of Municipalities, I think Mayor Mike knows about that, to put forth this resolution properly worded to the state legislature. Think of this as making a demand on the legislature, a demand for all enabling legislation that would be needed and backed up by all of the state funding that will be needed to be channeled down to the localities to enable actual building out of systems that are alternative to those which are now major off-gassing carbon dioxide. What that means is, first, housing, taking off on what Gordon said. You know, in Europe, they're building what's called eco-social housing, which is public housing that's built around a non-carbon emitting, ecologically beneficial system. In transportation, we have nothing but fossil fueled vehicles, including EVs powered by natural gas electric generating stations. And we're going to have to, you know, the age of the personal automobile is going to come to an end anyway because there's just not that much fossil fuel left to keep powering these things. So that's got to be considered. And the third thing, which is not in the city's wheelhouse, but that is industrial agriculture, agribusiness. That's more in the county's wheelhouse. So I'm working on that too. So on the county side, I'm working up a similar resolution to be introduced at the Portage County Board to be passed up to the Counties Association, hopefully for passage at September's convention. So, and how is this all going to be funded? Well, okay, speaking of where the money is going, as Mr. Decker and Sarah spoke of, time to divert that money from the war machine into the peace machine. So is it time to return to the progressive taxation system in our state? Why, yes, it is. The wealthy corporations, which are the drivers of carbon emission, must now step up and begin funding the mitigation of their damages. So that's my wrap on this, and I hope you all vote unanimously.
Thank you, Bobby. Just a point of clarification, you mentioned the League of Wisconsin Municipalities a couple times. Maxwell's actually paid for by the Wisconsin Conservation Voters, a different group.
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking that the League...
You said the League bringing this forward.
Yeah.
And the League didn't bring this forward.
No, they should.
Okay. Just clarifying that. Mary Kneebone, I'm sorry, Mary Kneebone, Mary McComb. You guys were inseparable years ago. I apologize for that.
That's been a long
Mary
time.
McComb. It hasn't been that long, has it?
I take that as a compliment to be in that company.
Mary McComb, 2100 Elk Street in Stevens Point. I'm thrilled to see this resolution, and I hope The vote is unanimous. It's about time. I was involved in the path to a sustainable Stevens Point in 2008, and then David Shore and I got us going with the Green Tier Legacy Communities in 2017 and 2018. I don't know what's happening with that. But I did, as I was doing some research, find some minutes from 2007, which is, 2017, which is 7 years ago, in which I asked for a sustainability committee. So I'm glad that's in this resolution. I did some quick and dirty research on other communities and counties in Wisconsin who have signed on to a resolution, or in some cases a resolution and a committee, or have made some big commitment to sustainability. And we've got, and these are not all of them, La Crosse, Sun Prairie, Green Bay, Appleton, Madison, Middleton, Fitchburg, McFarland, Menominee, Milwaukee, Wauwatosa, Eau Claire County, and Dane County. You can tell I'm from Wisconsin. I can pronounce all those. As I looked at these resolutions, I did notice that 2050 was the most common goal date, and I think that's fine. But as to the changed language, saying that we resolve to strive is not enough. We need to resolve to just do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Callie?
Hello, Callie Mickinen, 1800 Briggs Street. I'm originally from Bayfield County, the Northwoods, as many of you may know it. This area has many trees, very few people. That means I grew up playing outside, climbing trees, swimming in lakes. With that, when I was 7, my dad cut down a tree, and I cried for an hour. I knew something then, which I've known ever since. I'm very passionate about the outdoors, not just in a way that I enjoy being out there, but in a way that I want to make sure it's there for a very long time to come. With that, I spent most of my high school feeling bad about the decisions I was making, driving around, consuming plastic, turning on lights, anything that I've ever been told harms the environment. I chose to come to the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point and this community because of its reputation for sustainability and environmentalism. Hoping to find a way to solve this feeling, something that I now know, and I'm sure many of you know, as climate anxiety. I fell in love with the community and the people that are here. I quickly joined multiple clubs, both on campus and in the community. And I've learned a lot about ways to advocate for myself and my values, and I've met a lot of amazing people. I learned so much more about living a sustainable lifestyle and just how much of an impact we all have as individuals, but also how institutionalized being wasteful is. I want there to be a future where kids don't have to think about every single action that they do and every single ounce of energy that they're using. That they can live without the fear that they're ruining the planet just by functioning as a human being. One where our city, in addition to the individuals, are focused on reducing our impact on the planet that we all call home. Stevens Point has the opportunity to make that vision a reality by committing to clean energy and carbon neutrality tonight. One where our city, in addition to the individuals, are focused on reducing this. It's the beginning of climate action in Stevens Point, and I'm happy to be here to help you guys. The creation of subcommittee will allow for much further conversations, and it will give us a voice along with the community and elder persons in getting this work done. So with that, I ask you to support the proposed resolution to 100% clean energy and carbon neutrality. Thank you.
Thank you, Callie. We're happy to have you in Stevens Point. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Trevor is part of a group that meets on a regular basis to discuss the issues surrounding climate anxiety. So if you don't know that, Trevor can connect with you. Greg Knight.
Hi, I'm Greg Knight. I would like to ask the council tonight to please support the passage of the original resolution committing to 100% clean energy and carbon neutrality by 2040 or 2050 if you so desire. That's the resolution that was passed out of the committee last week at the June 10th Policy Committee meeting. I also believe that, there could be amendment to the proposal based on the Policy Committee meeting's discussion. That also, what the mayor was asking for in paragraph 8, changing the word achieving to striving towards, as a compromise to the mayor's concerns about not being obligated to specific goals or objectives. I do strongly object to the mayor's proposed resolution, this separate resolution that showed up in the board packet, as it wasn't discussed in committee, so I'm a little bit surprised by that, having served in the past on city councils. You don't typically do that with a resolution, at least, in my mind, because it's sort of like throwing something else in there to compete with what was already passed out of committee, and it seems like that should be the point of discussion at the council meeting then. The other problems I have with it is that resolution that the mayor's proposing brings up issues not discussed by the committee or are vague and extraneous that don't really add clarity. I think the original resolution as passed out of the committee is clear and keeps it simple. I also object to the mayor's memo that seems to me petty and designed to discredit the work that Maxwell Johnson has put into this, and also the folks that have worked with him for almost the last year now to get this before the committee, for the council to be passed. This resolution will move the city forward, I believe. You're getting a grant to help study and establish your baseline, and then beyond that, you need to have some kind of committee develop a roadmap to take that to the next step as far as where you're going to go, as far as clean energy and reducing our carbon footprint. So, thank you.
Thank you. Just to point out, the last resolution we just passed was less than 8 hours old. This one was at least included in the agenda. That exhausts our speaker list. The motion, or the agenda item, is the resolution that was passed at committee. That's the one that stands. That's the one you're considering. You are able to pass it as is, add amendments, whatever your wishes are.
I make a motion to pass the original version of the resolution that passed committee with an amended target date of 2050, but no other changes.
Okay, target date of 2050. The motion is to approve so you have a motion to amend first, and the amendment is changing 2040 to 2050, is that correct? So the motion is to amend the resolution to change the target date from 2040 to 2050. Is there a second only on the amendment?
I'd second that amendment.
Seconded it in the amendment. Discussion only on the amendment. Hearing and seeing, go ahead.
I'll share that I'm disappointed to roll back anything, but I also appreciate that staff shared significant concerns at committee last week with meeting these targets, given the planning that we do with resources, fire trucks being one that was discussed, right? And so while it's disappointing and not what I would like, it's a compromise that I'm willing to make. I will not be supportive of any other changes to the resolution to weaken the language. We need a target that we can be accountable to striving towards, and we need to plan and resource for that target in unison as a community. And so I think it's really important to be specific. I yield.
Alder Christensen.
I also would be supportive of the amendment. 2050 is a date that's used in a lot of the federal and state programs too that are dealing with this topic. So I think it puts us in line with that as well. I do hope that the committee that will be formed as a result of this resolution, the commission or committee, whichever we end up going, I hope that they start working quickly to also create interim goals, so we don't just spin our wheels for the first 10 years. And so I'm hoping whether it's something like on every 5 years and with their ability to monitor progress on a regular basis, just to make sure we're making the type of progress that we need to make.
Thank you. And it's commission.
Commission is in the resolution,
if it's approved. Any other comments on the amendment? I'd actually made the change in the proposed amendments because I heard a rumor that Alderperson Broderick was looking at 2050. Unfortunately, no one at staff was brought up. We could certainly have made those changes had we had any advance notice.
I did actually speak to staff about that.
Okay, I asked him today, and maybe that person wasn't at staff, but nobody had heard of it. So the motion before you is to amend from 2040 to 2050. I think we can do a voice vote here. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And now the motion, or the resolution as amended. Somebody say something?
Someone in the audience did, yes. I'd be happy to make a motion to approve as amended.
Thank you. Is there a second? Hang on.
I
We'll give the second to Steinmetz.
All right.
Discussion.
I have comments.
Go ahead.
I appreciate how quickly 2040 is approaching when the nature of our roles is that we do have to plan so far into the future. And I think we're all in agreement that working towards clean energy and carbon neutrality is important. So at the end of the day, I want to validate staff is going to keep making their everyday decisions and their innovative changes that have already given Stevens Point a fabulous reputation and leadership in this space. So the point of this resolution is to codify the work that is already happening and join the hundreds of U.S. cities that have already made a strong commitment to achieving 100% clean energy and carbon neutrality. Is it the case that these hundreds of cities didn't have valid concerns about meeting their goal, or that they didn't have any uncertainty or debate or internal squabbling about the exact definition of carbon neutrality and the implications of that definition for their city? Of course not, but they did it. And with all the work that's already going on in Stevens Point, I think we are better suited than most to achieve that commitment. So we've heard it from folks in the audience before. If it's going to happen anywhere, it will be here. So I understand the reluctance to make a commitment it felt like we might not meet. But again, if we were concerned about reaching net zero by 2040 and we feel we can't do that, the way to go forward is not to fundamentally change the nature of the resolution, but to move the time frame. It's not meaningful to make a commitment that we know we can't meet, if that is the case, but I argue it's also not meaningful to make a commitment so watered down that we are not able to fail either. So again, if we agree this goal is important, which it really seems like we all do, and our only concern was not being able to realistically fulfill that, I hope we will all support adopting the original version of the resolution with only the amended time frame. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Sure. Mine are very short, but I am proud of the many things that Stevens Point has already done in the name of sustainability over the years, but there's plenty more to be achieved through this amendment. The formation of a sustainability commission will help guide future decision-making towards a greener direction and make sure we're staying on track. To put it simply, I care about the environment because I live there. It's my home, it's your home. Like other communities who have already taken on the challenge, we need to do our part to slow down climate change before things get even more dire. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes?
I'm really impressed by the work that we've been doing as a community in terms of sustainability. And I think this resolution, even though the time frame has been pushed back, it's only going to accelerate those impressive works that we've been doing. And, you know, it's a long ways away. Technology, maybe we'll be at net zero by 2040 and we'll be negative by 2050. Who knows? Either way, it's very exciting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. The motion is to approve the resolution as amended. If you're in favor, vote yes. Opposed, no. And the clerk will call the roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Christensen.
Aye.
And that's approved. Item number 15 is to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub E for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing public funds, or conducting other specific business for the purposes of negotiating the...
We're not there yet.
We are not there yet. I need order, please. For the purposes of negotiating the potential purchase of a property for the purpose of relocating City Hall and negotiating the sale of the city's share of the current City Hall Courthouse building. I need a motion to go into closed session.
I so move.
I'm sorry,
Second.
Shuda and Morrow. Need a roll call vote, please?
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
No.
Boozy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.